Let's begin with my occasionally parodied disclaimer. I don't have a problem with a female doctor, as long as it makes narrative sense. As long as it was done for the right reasons, with the purpose of actually giving us something interesting and new. I do, however, have a problem if the casting was done for purely ideological reasons, to push an agenda, or for pure virtue signaling. I've been repeating this for close to a year now, and have been repeatedly told that I'm wrong. That there is no agenda involved, and that the best person was cast for the role. I have also repeatedly noted that Chris Chibnall has done nothing to allay concerns of a rather sizable portion of Doctor Who's fan base. Well, we finally got some definitive answers this week, as the oncoming train wreck that will probably be Series 11 continues. The article was published in Entertainment Weekly on July 12th, with the wonderfully sycophantic title, Doctor Who star Jodie Whittaker is simply brilliant on the cover of EW's Comic-Con preview issue. As we've learned recently, some things seem to be off limits to mainstream media when it comes to criticism. I mean, just take a look at The Last Jedi. How exactly is this picture brilliant? Good lord, the headline is just comedic gold. It's a picture. For the love of God, get some perspective. Why does everybody with insider information on Series 11 say it's brilliant? Strange, it's almost like they've been directed to do so. The sycophants at Entertainment Weekly spent a couple of days on the Doctor Who set, during which time they spoke to Chris Chibnall, and we have now been given definitive proof as to why this casting came to be. I'm not surprised, of course. In the article, Chibnall is quoted as saying, "I felt the time was right. I think if we hadn't done it, we would have been behind the world, and Doctor Who has got to be out in front leading the world, and being a great example of all the amazing things that are in the world. So it wasn't even a question in my mind." I felt the time was right. So were you basing this on your own feelings, or were you just trying to demonstrate how superior you are to everyone else? How exactly would you be behind in the world? Are you implying that male leads are somehow backward and a relic of the past? I'm not saying that female leads are not important. Quite the reverse. Of course they are. And there have been many examples of strong female leads in television and in movies. But when you replace male leads with female leads for purely ideological reasons, the consequences are never good. Can anybody tell me of a time when this actually worked out well? The next statement says quite a bit about Chibnall's own ego. Doctor Who has got to be out in front leading the world. No, Doctor Who is not out leading the world. There are many other things far more important than a TV show. Get some perspective. Does this sound like Rian Johnson, anyone? Someone who thinks he's so far above the little people that we aren't fit to lick the excrement off his boot. Now the last statement. It wasn't even a question in my mind. You idiot! No thought went into this whatsoever, did it, Chibnall? This dilettante has just admitted to sacrificing Doctor Who on the altar of his own misguided ego, virtue signaling, and flawed reasoning. Did you put no thought into this whatsoever? Did you see Ghostbusters? Did you see the backlash against The Last Jedi, which has effectively destroyed Star Wars? What do these two things have in common? They put ideology above everything else. This franchise is 55 years old. It was not yours to experiment with. I guess it didn't help that you were enabled by Stephen Moffat, and he had already left the show in shambles, so I guess it's all downhill from here. You had an inbuilt fan base, but you decided to shit on them. Do you really think Doctor Who will survive without them? Do you really think that people who are on the third wave feminist social justice bandwagon will be there for the long haul? Do you really think that they will support the show for decades like many of us have? No, they won't. I again reference The Last Jedi. The numbers were high on opening weekend because most people, including myself, had no idea of the cinematic disaster they were about to witness. Compare this to Solo: A Star Wars Story only 5 months later. It bombed! Why? Because Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy went out of their way to alienate Star Wars' inbuilt fan base. And they left. The same thing has been going on with Doctor Who since 2015. And the ratings plummet has demonstrated this. Do you really think that people who were turned off by the ideological massacre of Doctor Who in Series 9 and 10 are going to come back now? But then, I guess you don't have to care. But God help you if the BBC ever becomes privatized. And that's all for today. So as always, everyone, thank you for watching, and have a good day.